What's happening, everybody? It's Shawn with Reactions to the Classics, and today we have a reaction to Railway Children, their album Recurrence, brought to us by our friend, longtime supporter and patron of the channel, Trucker Kev. Thank you, Trucker Kev. Always appreciate you and all the support you've given us over the years. I've never even heard of this group, but Trucker Kev gave us some of his insight. I got just a little bit of research, and then we're going to get into the album. I'm just going to tell you up front, the music's not going to be in the video. There's a Vimeo link below. Check that out. You can watch the entire thing with the music. All right, Trucker Kev says, this is an interesting one. This goes into one of my favorites that I started with an album. So those of us who are a certain age, me and Kev are only a year apart in age, started with an album, followed it to cassette, followed it to CD, right? Those were the OG albums, man, that we really loved. We took them from all the different mediums because we had to have a copy of it. So high praise because Kev knows a ton about music. He said senior year of high school, he's getting ready to graduate, working a pizza parlor, and a new wave kid, roughly about a junior, got this CD and played it, and it became a favorite real quickly. I had to get it myself. An English band who never really had the big major blow up, but nonetheless a fantastic band to me. Some of their stuff got a little dated, but this album has not. It's still a favorite of mine to this day. Definitely an overlooked English band. Great rhythm, hooks, arrangement on this album. I would describe it as late 80s English atmospheric rock like REM, The Smiths, and a whole lot more. They definitely fell into the college alt rock crowd, but some stations that play a lot of new wave do have a few other songs in the playlist. All right, here's what I found about him. Obviously, a British new wave band formed in 1984 by Gary Newby, who's the songwriter, vocals, guitar, keyboards, Brian Bateman, rhythm and guitar, and Guy Keegan, drums, and Stephen Hull on bass. Factory Records recorded their debut single, A Gentle Sound, in 1986. This was followed by their first album, the album before this, Reunion Wilderness, in 1987, which topped the UK indie chart. They left Factory shortly afterwards and were signed to Virgin Records, right? You go to the smaller record label, you have a little bit of success, you go to the big record label. 1988 saw the release of their second album, this one, Recurrence, on Virgin Records, and support tours with REM in Europe and the Sugar Cubes in the US. A national chart hit eluded them with singles In the Meantime, Somewhere South, and Over and Over. In 1990, they released Native Place, an album that saw the band take a more pop-oriented direction, with keyboard textures coming more to the fore than previously. Every Beat of the Heart became a top 40 hit in the UK with a peak at 24, and the song became a #1 hit on the newly founded modern rock charts in the US. So this is the next album after this, man, so it looks like they're on the upward swing, but they parted ways with Virgin Records in 1992 and broke up soon after. Newby continued solo and has since released several albums as the Railway Children, Dream Arcade in 1997, Gentle Sound in 2002, and two collections of rare recordings, Rarities in 2007 and Rarities 2 in 2010. Newby spent several years in Japan from 2002 onwards, writing, arranging music and lyrics for several major Japanese artists, so he found a path to stay in the music business. In 2016, the original lineup began rehearsing together and went on to play several times in concerts and festivals. I really don't have anything about the album, just that I've already told you, second studio album, 1988, Virgin Records, 96 on the UK album chart. So it did manage to make the album chart barely. So I don't really have anything on any of the songs either, guys. A couple of them were singles, and that's all I'm going to tell you. We're going to dig into the lyrics. I'll have those up as always. I won't say anything until each song is over with. Thanks again, Trucker Kev. And you see it below. We're going to start out with Somewhere South. It was one of the singles, but it did not chart. Somewhere South, just like Kev said, it's very atmospheric, man. I like this kind of music. It takes me back to a time and place. You know, I mean, growing up in the 80s, I'm not huge on a lot of 80s stuff that I was huge on at the time, right? It didn't age well with me. This kind of music, man, it takes me back to just a time and place, and I really do like the sound of it. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this album. I mean, it even sounds like a little, you know, as well as REM and the Smiths, you can even hear a little bit of The Cure, maybe even a little bit of modern English in there so far. So, you know, lyrics-wise, he's left this girl, he's going to go back to her, I think, is basically the gist of it. And the great guitar work, drum work, just like I said, the atmosphere, man, it just, it transports you there. I would imagine this is probably going to be one of my favorites, but I don't know what the rest of the album has for us. We move on to the second track, A Pleasure. A Pleasure. Very Smith-like there, you know, Brian Bateman playing I would imagine somewhat a Johnny Marr-inspired jangly guitar there. That was some good stuff, man. I enjoyed that song. Total vibe, right? Over 4 minutes long. It doesn't seem like it at all. You just kind of get lost in it. If you watch this channel a lot, you know I'm a lyrics guy, but it doesn't always have to be lyrics. I mean, I'm a big REM fan and if you're an REM fan, you know, especially on the early stuff, it's really not about the lyrics. And this isn't about the lyrics. I mean, he's with her and doesn't trust her. I don't know. You know, I mean, there's not a lot of lyrics. So you just get lost in the sound, man. Just vibing with it, man. Drum work, Guy Keegan. In this kind of music, the drummer's always in the background. You know, like no one ever goes, oh man, because you don't have a bunch of drum solos and that stuff. It's so pivotal, right? It's so pivotal to this style of music, much like Britpop, which, you know, is somewhat a offspring of this type of music. The drummer is so important, and then Gary's singing is what it needs to be. Your vocals can't be over the top. He just delivers it. A really nice tune there. Now we go to the next track, Swallowed. Swallowed, once again, fantastic guitar work by Brian Bateman and drumming from Guy Keegan. And Stephen Hull on the bass. In this type of music, the bass a lot of times doesn't take the forefront, but it comes in when it needs to be, and it all works together. You know, the song itself, once again, lyrically, I think it's going to kind of be the thing here, and it's not really about the lyrics, but you know, somehow this girl's messed him over, and he's going to do what he said he was going to do. So enjoyed that one. I don't like it as much as the first two, but the first two were quite good. Now we go on to Merciless. Merciless, not a lot of lyrics, this one they just kind of repeat, but basically he promised the girl he was going to be there for her, and he was, and she told him, yeah, man, that's great. I'm going to give you my good days. And then she leaves and puts him on the shelf like he's expired, and you know, basically messes him over. And I think if you've lived life long enough, you've been in this situation, boys and girls, where you give your best to the other. They promise they're going to be there, and then when the time comes, they head out, and maybe they find someone else or just go out on their own. And I thought the instrumentation on there and kind of the way it built and the repeating riff, and I think you felt it in Gary's vocals, you know, a little angst ridden. I felt in there just a little bit to like build that atmosphere of, look, man, you promised me something, and then you screwed me over, for lack of a better word. Now we move on to My Word. My Word. I don't know that that's going to be one of my favorites, but I'll tell you what, it was the one where I felt the musicianship all kind of worked synergistically. Stephen Hull on the bass really shined on this one. I think for the first time really came up to the forefront. And then, of course, Brian on guitar and Guy on the drums. And then Gary giving the performance that he needs to give on these songs. But just kind of get lost in the atmosphere of the song and don't really pay much attention to the words. I mean, I read the lyrics, but that's kind of the idea on some of this stuff. So enjoyed that one. And now we're going to get on to the song that, if anything was going to be called a hit, it would be this song, In the Meantime. Went to 95 in the UK. Second most streamed on this album besides A Pleasure. In the Meantime, much more chilled than some of the other stuff has been. I did mention the first verse was appropriate for the States right now. You know, I can't see when you shake that flag in front of my eyes, when you multiply the enemy just to divide. And I mean, I don't want to get political here, but that caught me. I was like, okay. He's like, who cares about the you and me in the meantime? And, you know, a few other things, but that's the recurring thing. Who cares about the you and me in the meantime? So enjoyed that one. Like I said, much more chilled. So I can see how this kind of has single written all over it, a little bit of repeating chorus in there, and just the way he sings in the meantime kind of sticks in the head. Now we're going to go to the last single that was released on here. It didn't chart. Over and over. Over and over. Very atmospheric. Brian kind of brings back a little bit of that jangly guitar in there, and you know, the repeating lyrics, it just really draws you in. I thought Guy's drumming was great there. And, you know, in the lyrics, I think Gary thought that this girl was his, and he finds out later on she's got a secret life, and don't leave me when I'm sad or down. And the lesson reads on every page that you chronicled, the lesson of reason still ringing in my ears. And it's there when I meet the ground. It's there when I meet the ground, over and over and down. So he didn't learn his lesson. He kept hitting the ground, metaphorically speaking, right? His face is in the dirt, but keeps going back for more because he never saw it coming. Now we're up to Monica's Light. Monica's Light. I mentioned it as the song was about maybe a third of the way through. To me, by far the most Smith-sounding song. Partly just it was striking Gary's delivery, right? Very Morrissey-like, and just his tone from the start. The bass work underneath with Steven there, and then that guitar work with Brian. Guy was fine on the drumming as well, but very, very just Smith's atmosphere there, and I think that's why I resonated with it, because I really, really like the Smiths. And, you know, Monica's Light became a falling star, and so it follows. You're nothing to her. she just forgets that you are. And I think that's how that atmosphere and kind of melancholy tone in Gary's voice really, really works in this, man. She's got 60 separate movements for each hour, I know, but I won't tell her, so I know, but I won't tell us, so what I know. So really enjoyed that one. I would imagine it's going to be on my favorites list. Somehow we only got 3 tracks left. We're going to go with Chrysalis. Chrysalis, which is almost like a cocoon type thing, but it also can be someone emerging, kind of growing in themselves or in something they're trying to achieve or emotionally. So, you know, he uses obviously the cocoon thing, and I just want to spread these wings and try for the first time in a long time. This chrysalis has lost the urge to grow. It's so warm inside. Never mind, just grow. Definitely second tune in a row, very Smith-like to me. Brian's guitar work, especially on there. Guy, great drumming performance, and Gary kind of delivers not a Morrissey copycat, but definitely a Morrissey influenced vocal performance there. Now we're up to the penultimate track, No Great Objection. No Great Objection. I have no great objection to this song, right? It's a good song. I don't have a lot to say about it. I don't think it's as good as the previous 2 tracks, but those songs were really good. So, I mean, good delivery, good performance. Fits in with the tone of the album. Now we're going to go to the last track, although I'm trying to figure this out. Like, the track listing only shows 10 on the original track listing. So I think this song, as I pieced stuff together, the song is Second Nature. And I think it was the B-side to the single In the Meantime. And then it got stuck on this album or probably CD or whatever later on, or in the second pressing of it. So there's no lyrics I can find even on the World Wide Web, but let's vibe to this last track. Second Nature, I think a showcase a little bit for Stephen Hull's bass work on there. Just a nice chill tune to kind of end off the album. Like I said, I don't know if it's on the original album or not. Just can't find a lot on it, but I thought it was a fitting way to end. So now we're getting to my favorite tracks, but first Trucker Kev shared his favorite tracks. He's got Chrysalis, Monica's Light, and the opening track, Somewhere South. For me, honorable mentions, I have My Word because I thought the instrumentation on there just really worked nice synergistically. Once again, great bass work from Steven on that. Over and Over is also going to be an honorable mention. My faves, the opening track, Somewhere South, just like Kev. A Pleasure, the second track, which I thought was fantastic. The single that hit number 95, In the Meantime. And then my favorite track on here, I think, is Monica's Light. It may be Somewhere South, the opener, but I think Monica's Light is my fave on here. Now we're going to get to my overall score. For Kev, it's a 9.0. Obviously, he went from album to cassette to CD. And here's the thing. Right, when you live with an album, like if you're going to bring an album for an album reaction, it's usually like at least an 8 for you, right? And so for me on first listen, I'm going to be at a 7.75. I like this type of music. I like the atmospheric music. I'm sure on repeated listens, it'll grow and grow. That's kind of how this music is. You either like it or you don't. You want to throw in the headphones or turn it up and just vibe. I like atmospheric stuff like this. Everything doesn't have to be about the lyrics, right? You know, you listen to Dylan, you're kind of in for a little bit of a job, right? It's a little bit of work, man, because you got to focus on all the lyrics, and that's great, and it's great artistry, and I love Dylan, but sometimes I just want to chill to the music, right? And that's kind of where this fits in that niche in your music listening experience. So once again, Kev, appreciate you. You're always bringing great stuff and, you know, a variety of stuff in here. Thanks to all the patrons. You want to be a patron and support us like Kev does. They make this thing go. Check out the Patreon link below or the Patreon link on the end screen. Until next time, guys, I will see you.